Bleach is back with its adaptation of the 1,000-Year Blood War arc. Wow, that feels kind of weird to say, right? But it's true, and I'm sure Bleach fans everywhere are rejoicing that one of the most popular IPs in anime is finally getting its conclusion. And to celebrate such a joyous occasion, I thought we'd do a ranking of the strongest characters in Bleach. And yes, I know there's never a set rank because everything is basically subjective, so there might be a few characters on here that you disagree on placement. But if that's the case, please let me know afterwards in the comments below, okay? Cool. Who's number 1? Who barely makes the cut at number 10? I'm just so happy that I'm comfortable adding a lot of 1,000-Year Blood War arc characters, but there will be some slight spoilers for that, so just an FYI. Let's discuss right now. Yeah, there was no way I wasn't going to put Yhwach first. It's practically a no-brainer. A lot of people call him Your Majesty or the Almighty, which kind of gives you a good idea of just how strong he is. The Almighty is the most powerful character in Bleach. I mean, even if we weren't ranking power levels, I have to put him that high just for his mustache alone, right? What an incredible piece of facial hair. Anyways, let's talk about his power levels. The character has an abundance of powers and abilities that make him a nightmare to fight, and that's what you get when you're the son of the Soul King, I guess. He was locked away for almost 1,000 years, and upon his release, he almost brought the end to all of our heroes. I'm sure everyone just wished he stayed locked away, but it makes for an amazing antagonist to the story. I mean, and with some of his abilities, I'd be super impressed if I wasn't so terrified. Just to give one example, he was able to give power to the Stern Ritter when the group performed a ritual to drink the Almighty's blood. The results were that everyone who participated walked away with a very special and unique power that made them super strong too. And that's just one small element to the Almighty's power levels, and I could spend this whole video talking about each of his abilities and how devastating they are. I mean, if you're the main character of your shonen anime and manga, then you better be pretty powerful. So yeah, Ichigo is the next strongest character in Bleach. Because he inherited a massive amount of spiritual power and skill thanks to his Shinigami dad and his Quincy mother who had a hollow inside of her, Ichigo already had a great base level of power and only grew more capable and powerful over time. And his potential is overall frightening. It's been said that in the 1,000-Year Blood War arc, he doesn't actually use all of his power, but if he were to ever use all of his latent power, all of his Shinigami power, all of his hollow, and all of his Quincy powers at the same time, then it's beyond comprehension how strong he could be. It's been great to track Ichigo across Bleach's history and watch him continue to level up in interesting ways, while also introducing other characters who can still challenge him. But he's certainly come a long way from where we first met him, and overall, his arguably strongest ability is his power to learn. He has an advanced growth rate, which allows him to master complex techniques and skills in a short amount of time. The most famous probably being how he achieved Bankai in 2.5 days, where it takes most Shinigami 10 years to reach that. Yeah, there were some extenuating circumstances there, but still, that's crazy. And his progress never stops. I can't wait to watch this final 1,000-Year Blood War arc play out in the new anime so we can keep seeing his skills increase. I mean, even this number 3 positioning is open for debate. I really had to put Ichigo at number 2, but you could easily make the case that Yamamoto could have moved up a spot. But Ichigo is the main character, and one of those will continue to go stronger and stronger forever types that made it impossible for me to put him anywhere else. Which is a real shame because Yamamoto is so cool. And yeah, there's that pesky problem of him being totally wrecked by the Almighty, but I mean, who wasn't, am I right? Where Ichigo has the ability to learn complex skills in a short amount of time, Yamamoto is essentially the opposite, where he's actually taken all the time to really learn his skills. And he's been honing his abilities for over 2 millennia. Yeah, of course he's going to be powerful with all that time on his hands to train, and he has such a great variety of skills as well that make him insanely strong. His Bankai in particular is one worth highlighting. Like, I tell you that it's basically controlling fire, and that doesn't sound very cool, but if I tell you that he can control heat that's over 15 million degrees, and suddenly it makes his Bankai the most powerful in all of Bleach's history. Aizen's surprise twist and the reveal of his true villainy still stands as one of the best surprises in all of anime, and his ability to hide in plain sight for so long and then fake his own demise only to reveal himself to be this grand villain sort of plays into what makes him such a strong bad guy in the first place. His mind and intelligence is what sets him above almost everyone else, and his big brain power is what made him realize how unsatisfied he was with the world and how desperately he wanted to change things. See, the moral of the story is don't be too smart, everyone, or else you'll turn evil. So put down that book and just watch YouTube videos all day instead. Anyways, Aizen is not just the type of smarty pants to sit back and let others do his bidding for him either. No, he's also an incredibly skilled swordsman and fighter who could totally devastate anyone in his path. So now that we're getting the 1,000-year Blood War arc in anime format, we're going to be introduced to some amazing new characters. One of them is Ichibe, and he appears after Yamamoto's demise in order to rebuild the Gote 13. He's a beast of a man who knows a thing or two about names in general. His title from the Soul King is the monk who calls the real name, and his power allows him true name manipulation, which means he can do things like name curses where anyone unworthy of his name would lose their voice if they speak it, and he has the innate ability to determine the true name of all things, and can make you as strong as whatever he names you for a short time. For example, when he fought Yhwach, he called him Ant, which leads to Yhwach becoming as strong as an ant for a short period of time. Plus, he can essentially stitch himself back together after being completely slashed to bits by getting someone to say his name and then using that power to piece him into one whole again. Neat. Do you do better under pressure? Do you feel yourself thriving when the chips are down and everyone is counting on you? Well, if you are, then you probably relate to Valkyrie, who is one of the strongest fighters in the Bleach universe. Overall, he's the worst type of opponent to actually fight. He has an ability called the Miracle, which just allows him to win things if he's facing tough odds. So the harder you prepare to fight him, the harder it is going to be to beat him. So keep that in mind. And on top of that, he has the power to convert physical damage inflicted on him to energy that can increase his size and skill. Yeah, doesn't that sound completely unfair? The demon of the bloodthirsty sword does not sound like the person you want to invite to your house for dinner. There just seems like a lot of baggage there that I wouldn't want to deal with, and I'd be terrified of winding up his victim. Well, his real name is Kenpachi Zaraki, and he's unique in that he doesn't tend to rely on some fancy schmancy energy manipulation to get the job done. Nope, he just likes slashing you and cutting you into small bite-sized pieces, so definitely be careful. And yeah, he's super strong, but he's a little lower on this list because his best strength is also a major weakness. So he really enjoys fighting, so much so that he lowers his abilities so fights aren't over too quickly. But then when he uses his true powers to become even more powerful, he does also become vulnerable, so it's a tricky situation all around. I just like how in Bleach everyone has these amazing abilities, but they're all so different from each other, which creates interesting setups for fights overall. Lille Barro has a special skill in that he's one of the best marksmen in the entire series. He's sort of like Marvel's Bullseye in that regard, where he has perfect accuracy, but also his energy is so powerful that his rifle shots are able to pierce through anything and can't be blocked. Plus, on top of that, his Quincy is nearly unstoppable and has a secondary form which allows him to heal. Man, anyone working with Yhwach just all have ridiculously powerful and OP abilities, right? I think Ishida has one of the most interesting powers in Bleach. He has what's called antithesis, which means he can designate any two targets and then reverse what happens between them. It's really strange and sort of fascinating. So say you're sword fighting him and you get all your hits in perfectly and you're the best swordsman in the entire world. Cool, right? Wrong. He could use that to switch things around where you suddenly were dealt all the damage you had inflicted on him and he swapped places with you to be completely healed and fine. How do you fight someone like that? There's nothing more dangerous than an extremely loyal person to a certain cause, right? Jugram Haschwalth is extremely dedicated to Yhwach and his overall mission, which has led Jugram to become the most trusted second in command of the Sternritter. I mean, why wouldn't Yhwach want him around? Turns out Jugram has the same power as the Almighty and can impart his own power onto other Quincy. Sure, there are some limitations, but it makes it interesting nonetheless. He also has an ability called the Balance, where he can infect you with bad fortune if you've had a string of good fortune recently. I mean, they don't call him the Balance for nothing. I imagine him and Thanos would have a fascinating conversation overall, don't you think? What'd you think of my ranking? Do you agree or disagree? If I expanded this to 15 characters, who else would make the cut? Are you happy Bleach is back? So many questions. I hope to hear your answers to them in the comments below. Thanks for watching CBR. See you next time.